Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Peter Kennedy, Kennedy's Garage. We have today a 2017 Volvo V40. Actually only a week or two ago I think I done a video on a manifold absolute pressure sensor on one of these, but it was 1.61. I believe that's a 2 litre. We're not really seeing, I suppose, a huge amount of it there at this point in time, but our problem is that. So what am I thinking just while I look in here? I'm looking in and I did first and foremost while I was talking to the customer out in the street, I actually took the top off of the expansion jar. And when I took the top off the expansion jar, I had no big huge amount of pressure. She was low in water, but it didn't give me a head gasket type gut feeling. So where could this smoke be coming from? Whether it's coolant related or engine oil related. And with it being lower in coolant here, I am assuming it's coolant, and then with it, it's kind of dissipating fast. So it's you know, doesn't smell like oil, it's going away and disappearing quite fast. So I think it's coolant. My guts, where are my guts telling me to go? My guts are telling me that potentially I probably should get a pressure tester on it, pressure test the system and see am I losing pressure, and thereafter see where this pressure is going. That's what I'm thinking. A lot of lads again will ask miles on the odometer. Oh, by the way, we don't have any check engine light on, but we do have an ABS light and a tire pressure light and that, but we are not focusing on that for my video today. It will be done, but I'm only focusing on this smoke related problem. Does it even give me miles? I don't know. How do we see miles, or what do we see here? Nah, I can't get miles. Maybe turn off this. Maintenance overdue. Come on, give me miles, lads. 115,000 kilometers. Can we see that? We have on this car. Right, let's get a pressure test around and see where we go. Pressure test kit on it. What it is doing is or at least it seems to be, holding pressure, but I'm thinking that maybe I'll leave that pressure on it for a while. If I'm trying to get the backstory and understand where I'm going, I kind of think that maybe, and just maybe, the girl did ring a day or two ago about booking it in, and I don't know what the discussion, my office staff are gone now. What the discussion was, I don't know, was it ABS related or what the heck, but this morning when she went to drive off to work or wherever it may have been, she was driving and she said, this cloud of smoke. Now I then, when she landed here, only a mile or two away from the garage, I drove it to the bottom of the street and had a cloud of black smoke behind me. Sorry, white smoke or whatever you're going to call it. Looked like steam, but then I couldn't decipher. Or oil. When I came back and we pulled in here, and a second ago I snapped the throttle, the amount of smoke is starting to dissipate or go away a little bit. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking that I had a Volkswagen Transporter one day, and the Volkswagen Transporter, we had a coolant or water leak. Actually, I see the level seems to be dropping in our jar in there. Yeah, there's something happening here. The Transporter, what happened when an EGR cooler went on it or failed, it was only while it was idling for a long time and had pressure in the cooling system that if you snapped the throttle, it would chug because it was ingesting the water into the cylinders and throwing it out the back of the car. Something says to me similar, that I'm nearly thinking that we could have very, very similar of an EGR cooler on these things, and it's actually the cooler that's leaking and leaving in water. Maybe to get a visual on this, we will see this again. She's still dropping, but only slightly, and I see my coolant maybe has kind of stopped dissipating. Thinking that maybe I might get in and have a look at that steel pipe that's bolted on there and there, and if I take it off, would I see coolant inside in it somewhere? If it's a cooler, it's where I'm thinking at this point. I'm going to get off this bit of plastic and I'm going to get off that pipe. It's all fairly fast and easy. We'll see where we're at. Okay, pipe pulled off, and then, oh dear, as Sandy would say, oh dear. EGR cooler, it lives just in there. So yeah, lo and behold, that was a nice, simply fixed. Look inside in the pipe, it's washed. And there is a residue. I know maybe you mightn't be able to see it there too much, but it is in there, and we can see that evidence of that stuff dropping out of it. And then inside the intake manifold is all wet, sludgy, and the same up here. So what has happened to this thing is, while it was stopped overnight, the pressure that was contained in the coolant system basically leaked its way in there. First cold start of the morning, EGR valve opened, it ingested all this stuff and gave us steam everywhere. And by giving us steam everywhere, what it actually done was then burnt that big amount or big volume of water and coolant inside in the cylinders, sent it out the back, giving us all that smoke. And then while the pressure has gone off it, it didn't leak in anymore, and that big flow is gone. So nice, handy, fast diagnosis here anyway. Might do a video on, well, might do a little change over this thing if I get the job on. Okay guys, we're back in the workshop, and we know and we're aware of our cooler leaking, and leaking heavily. Proved already. There's a couple of days after passing here, so I'm only just jumping back in. We have got authorization on the repair. I have acquired an EGR valve. We don't specifically have anything wrong with the EGR valve, but because of all that water ingress and water going through it, generally you'd either do it right or you do it wrong. And doing it right, I'm replacing the EGR valve. The cooler comes separate. We have part number for the cooler, part number for the EGR valve. A couple of gaskets came with it, again directed by the dealer of what we needed. And I don't know what gaskets we need, but we have them there. These are exchange units, so the old ones have to go back to them. We're going to start the process of pulling this thing apart, getting out the cooler and the EGR valve. Airbox up out of my way to make a bit of room. Have a couple of bolts in at the back that I need to get in at. Don't know if I need to take out the battery as of yet, but at this point, that vacuum canister that sits in there, get that off, create a bit of room, and get these bits renewed. Going to start, as I said there, by taking off a couple of bolts in that thing and get that out of my way. A couple of bolts in that, get that thing out of my way, start gaining a bit of room. A couple of easy bits taken off so far. That was that little vacuum canister. I also pulled off that little EGR cooler bypass control solenoid off, hung it up out of my way. Airbox is up out of the way. The only one I can see are these little bolts are coming from the exhaust feed pipe, and the bolts are coming from the bulkhead side back out the way, okay? Just to show what I'm using, I didn't go in and I didn't go doing any further disassembly. I'm just using a little Torx head with a swivel head ratchet spanner, and I'm just pulling it out. Once they're cracked, they're running out easy enough. I can get in my fingers and so, you know, I can wind from the one side back out. Now that's not saying that I'm going to get all the bolts in behind them without too much hassle, because I've two bolts sitting in there, and I do see that water pipe is in the way. But I'd say once I have there's a little bolt actually holding my water pipe in situ just there onto the EGR valve. Sorry, it should be in the middle of the screen. And I'd say once that's kind of out, I can manipulate that down a slight little bit to get in at the bottom, size 8. And hopefully that pipe will move a little bit to get in at that one that's sitting just in there. So the rest of them at the front are going to be handy. 2 maybe. Oh, sorry. 2 of them sitting there. 1 there, 1 there. I'd suggest these ones are the only little bit of awkwardness. Seems easy enough. EGR valve off, out and in hand. I suppose the next thing I'll have to do is take out a couple of bolts out of this to assemble both items that we got over here together. I don't think there's bolts in it, so I'll use those bolts, and as I said there, we have to put these back in that box to return them. Wasn't so bad. Have a little a couple of little swivel head 1/4 inch extensions. I had actually a longer one and a shorter one to get these 2 little bolts in here vertical into the head, but it was all fairly straightforward. No big fighting job, but yeah, time for her. The other piece is to be bolted together like that and sat into place. Not that big of a deal, guys. I suppose the big deal, I wouldn't say it's a big deal, but the big deal here was to be able to diagnose what the heck was causing that steam out the back and the smoke. She had been told a head gasket, and if you kind of use your experience and all that, yeah, just, you know, so easy to get in and look at that pipe from the get-go. Nearly hard to diagnose this wrong, but then someone could have been doing a cylinder head gasket on this thing because of water ingress and water dropping, etc. Okay, get the other one bolted together and we start sending her back in. Okay, look at this. Yucky item. She's drowned and wet. In here, as I said, once it gets water into them, I just don't like not changing them, so that's why I'm replacing all these bits and pieces. So we can see there's something in there. That could have been just carbon, to be honest with you. But it's leaking heavily anyway. Drowned it. Wet. Okay, you can see all that crap coming out of it, can you? May as well leave it there. And come out on my tray versus the in the boxes for the dealers. Okay, normally a lot of lads say this as well. Take the boxes, when you open boxes, take them out with a nice little bit of a Stanley blade rather than bursting them open, you know. And it's good to give them back to like that, people intact. Okay, squeeze this thing together, lads. I was bolting my cooler onto my EGR valve and I believed there was I said, Jeannie, I'm missing a bolt or two out of this thing. Someone must have been in here before me, but lo and behold, I'm going to show you that little 8 that I thought was holding it on in there is not actually holding it onto the block. It's actually only, and the one below, it's actually only holding the cooler and the EGR valve together. So my little 5 or 10 minute struggle and those little extensions that I showed you, strike that, because those bolts are actually just holding the cooler together. It is only those two and those two and those, all right, you see them? And those two. So there's no other bolts holding this thing on. So silly Billy here, yeah, pull out these bolts that I didn't need to take out, or at least that I could have changed while it was out sitting here on my tray or trolley. Yeah, just don't get caught in that. It's in place. I didn't squeeze it up yet. I'm actually going to squeeze my pipe on first before I squeeze up the bolts that are holding on the cooler. I have the 2 water hoses put on, duplicates put onto them. Didn't lose too much coolant out of it. I just used these little grommets to block the water hoses, pop them off, stick in the grommets, and it was lower than what it was meant to be anyway. But yeah, the last few bits, just squeeze back up. I probably made it more awkward than what it should have been. That is that, lads. I'm out there sticking in my airbox, wiring harness, tube clip tight, put in the bits of plastic that we had taken off the very first evening the car came in, and I've reinstated my EGR flow pipe from the EGR valve over to the intake manifold, and I've put on the new gaskets, etc. on there. I have one spare, one left over. I would think that maybe dealers might take out the battery, go back and actually take out that pipe in its entirety. That's the one with the 2 little awkward bolts heading in that way, and I'd assume they have a gasket for that back there as well for me. While I'm standing here and actually looking at this is the 2-litre diesel. It actually looks like a kind of a mechanic's kind of a car, because that was easy to get at, relatively. No real big stupid, you know, the way you're stretching and hands up over your head and all that crack, tied up like a banana trying to get out bolts. So that was easy. Injector pump, look at it, standing there looking at you. Fuel rail. If you want to do a bit of testing on a fuel rail pressure sensor, you know, the 1.6 diesel, they'd be buried back down the back. The pump you couldn't see even with a boroscope, never mind by your naked eye. So like, it is an actual car that a fella could work on. Injector is relatively easy to get in at. Each one of them seem to have a fairly robust bolt. So I'm actually saying to myself, that's probably a good engine to have in a car. Not as big a fan of the 1.6 Peugeot engine, but that is a good joke. Time for an engine cover, a start, a drive. See, there's our smoke. I didn't get to show you the smoke too much. And I did think to myself, maybe I should have recreated this or tried to let you see it and connect on the pipes again or something. There was a lot of smoke coming out there, to the point that it was filling the road. I know we didn't get to see it at the start of the video, but in saying that, maybe when I go and drive it now and it's starting to warm up, dry up, you might get to see it in a rear view mirror or something when it's scan tool in hand. Our ABS light that I did speak about earlier on is an ABS sensor that is after failing on the right hand rear wheel, but that is to be done also. But for now, our EGR cooler is replaced. I suppose there's Look, I'll close it up on my final thought in a minute after, you know, a couple of miles of a drive. Okay, that is that. We've had it out on the road. Unfortunately, I did see a small little residue still coming. Our EGR valve, because I was under full load while driving it, is now open at idle, so we might get a small little residue of something, but I was unable to catch the volume of smoke coming out there. Gone after dissipating because we have the problem fixed and or resolved. Now, check engine light's gone out. I did replace the ABS sensor on the back of it. Done another small video, fast video on that using this little King Bull NK7. I had a message to do with, I don't know, collision migration or some crack on the front, but once I got a drive and out on the road for a little while, I was able to get that gone with this little thing. I have to actually say with this thing, this is actually, before I close up this thing, this is actually a fast little yoke. Do you know, if you're getting back out of it, yes, and you're floating around the place, and do you know, you're looking for stuff, so I don't even know what we'll go for diesel. It's going in, it's actually very, very speedy, I have to say. Nearly like the way I talk. Some lads say, go back, read data stream, we'll just say boom, boom, okay. Like it is actually really, really fast and really usable. So I do think it's a good yoke, if the truth be told. Do you know, just because of the speed in which I can navigate around stuff. I like speed, as all ye kind of might know. I like stuff to happen fast. This is a, I don't know, checksum fault that we have in here that has given me no messages, was in there on my starting, so I'm not even going to go and deal with that at this point in time. But you can see the speed in which this thing is getting around the place. I have to say that I do kind of like it. I'm going to maybe do this couple more miles in this thing. I might get it back after a week or so to see if she wants me to go and do more here. It's due a service also. But yeah, for this one, lads, I'm closing up my EGR cooler. I'm going to shout out again to King Bull N, and thanks very much for this little scanner that they gave to me as a free and gracious thing. Yeah, please like and subscribe, lads. Don't do what I done. Don't take out them two little bolts on the side of the cooler. But other than that, it's not that bad of a job. It's straightforward. Comparing to another one I done on a 2021 Berlingo only recently, that was far more awkward, far more tight. It's up on the front of the engine on this. Easy get at, which is a good thing. Yeah, so don't get caught. Loads of smoke at the back, loads of steam, dropping on water level. EGR cooler on this thing had failed, but we're done. Volvo, 2016 Volvo V40 2-litre diesel, okay? Guys, please like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. See you on the next cartoon. Peter Kennedy signing out. See you later, lads.